Hello, I'm excited to present this work at the ORS annual conference on behalf of the Perry Initiative, a nonprofit organization dedicated to diversifying the orthopedic talent pipeline. I'd like to acknowledge my co-authors and state that we have no conflicts of interest as it relates to the content of this presentation. No surprise to the audience at this particular conference, orthopedics is an interdisciplinary field that involves tight coordination and collaboration between clinicians, that is, orthopedic surgeons, and research scientists and engineers with a range of backgrounds to develop surgical tooling, implants, and biological interventions to treat orthopedic injury and disease. From a gender and racial perspective, this talent ecosystem is not particularly diverse. While the biosciences in general have reached gender parity, at least at the entry levels, there is subcritical mass of women in engineering across all disciplines. Critical mass is generally assumed to be 30% and is the threshold beyond which a minority population becomes self-sustaining. The orthopedic device sector draws heavily from mechanical engineering, which is only 11% women in practice, and has been holding steady at this level for the past 20 years. Persons of color are uniformly underrepresented in engineering regardless of subdiscipline at 12 to 16% of the population, again holding steady for decades. Flipping now to clinical practice, orthopedic surgery ranks alongside neurosurgery as the least gender diverse of all surgical subspecialties, far behind general surgery and even surprisingly urology. There is surprisingly low representation of women in practice, approximately 8% as of the 2020 census, and people of color compose only 4% of the orthopedics workforce. The rate of women in training, that is residency, for orthopedic surgery has improved slightly over the past decade from 13 to 16%. However, this growth has been underwhelming considering now that women actually compose 52% of the medical student body. When presented with numerous options, talented women and persons of color are simply not choosing to enter orthopedics, either from a clinical or a technology development perspective. This puts the entire field at a disadvantage in terms of recruiting and retaining the best and brightest minds, which are not constrained to the majority white male members of the talent pool. We at the Perry Initiative believe that the orthopedics profession can be diversified through targeted outreach and exposure programs at critical junctures in the developmental pipeline. Our outreach programs, one of which we will discuss in detail in this presentation, are designed to produce a national impact over a sustained time period. Consider the educational steps that are necessary for a young woman to become an engineer or a clinician in orthopedic practice. In high school, she would likely be STEM inclined and qualified academically to pursue a STEM pathway in college. Based on AP scores, approximately 50% of the co-ed high school student body is qualified to take this step. However, the terminal degrees, that is, professional engineer or orthopedic surgeon, demonstrate substantially less gender diversity. In the engineering pathway, the leak in the talent pipeline occurs in whether or not a STEM inclined female decides to major in engineering in college, which happens for only 5 in 100 STEM inclined women. In the clinical pathway, the leak occurs at the transition between medical school and residency. Women are well represented in biosciences at the undergraduate level, as well as in the medical school general body. However, they choose to pursue orthopedics at far lower rates, even when compared to other high prestige residency options. I also want to call attention to the maturation timeline. An intervention targeting high school students will yield results in the engineering pathway in 4 to 9 years, depending on the grade band of the student at the time of intervention. It will take 13 to 22 years for a high school student to become a practicing orthopedic surgeon. All of this to say that the timing of the intervention and the longevity of the programming itself all matter when designing effective outreach interventions. Here at the Perry Initiative, we have been continuously conducting an outreach program for STEM-inclined women high school students for the past 13 years. The program is called the Perry Outreach Program, and it is designed to recruit women directly into college engineering or pre-medical majors with a not-so-subtle push into the orthopedic surgery and medical technology fields in particular. We held our first POP in 2009 as a pilot program and have grown the effort exponentially to approximately 50 program locations and 1,600 students per year pre-COVID. The program was virtualized during the COVID semester and is now returning face-to-face at most program locations. Over these 13 years, nearly 1,200 high school-aged women have participated in day-long POP programs at 80 different program locations across the country. Most programs are held annually at partner medical centers and universities and recruit from their local areas. The POP curriculum is purposely designed to not be your average STEM camp. It's a one-day immersive experience where students interact directly with women engineers and orthopedic surgeons. They perform 4 hours of hands-on orthopedics-themed labs, including sawbone surgical simulations of intermedullary nailing and fracture plating. They also hear career and mentoring talks from both engineering and surgical pathways. The program is free to students with admission based on interest rather than GPA or ability to pay. Women of color are well represented in this program. If you haven't seen one of these programs yourself, this brief video gives you a sense of the hands-on nature of the program. The activities that you are seeing here are part of the set of curriculum, which includes over 8 different hands-on surgical simulations. We at the Perry Initiative have been continuously monitoring the career trajectories of POP programming participants since the program's inception in 2009. As more of our alumni advance in their training and professional practice, we are able to more clearly evaluate the long-term impact of the program on the orthopedics talent pipeline. Here at ORS 2022, I am now presenting the results of our summer 2021 alumni census. This is a voluntary online survey sent to over 9,000 alumni of our program from 2009 until the end of spring 2021. Results will be presented as descriptive statistics and thematic analysis of corresponding comments. This year's census clearly shows that POP alumni are choosing to enter the orthopedics talent pipeline, both as engineers/basic scientists and as clinicians. These data reflect approximately 1,100 respondents, which is a healthy 12% response rate, and they are remarkably consistent with the results of our 2012 and 2016 census time points. As of this summer, 30% of our respondents are still in high school, with nearly all planning to attend a 4-year college and nearly 90% intending to major in STEM. 52% of our respondents are presently in college, with 60% in the biosciences and 16% in engineering majors. 14% of our alumni are practicing engineers or other technical professionals, about half in each. Those technical professionals are centered in the medical pathway. 4% of our alumni are out now in medical school. Among the pre-med and medical student populations in particular, there is strong indication that POP has a lasting impact on the intent to pursue a career in orthopedics. Just over half of the program alumni who are now pursuing their baccalaureates intend to go to medical school, with half of those individuals maintaining high interest levels in orthopedics. For alums who are now medical students, nearly a third are likely or very likely to pursue orthopedic surgery residency. The alums of our earliest programs are just now approaching the final 2 years of medical school. Given the high rates of persistent interest in orthopedics, along with excerpts such as these that clearly suggest program impact, we are hoping for a step function change in the rate of women entering orthopedic residency over the next 5 to 7 years. So going back to our research question of whether this program is having an impact on the orthopedics pipeline, the answer is clearly yes. Considering first the engineering pathway, only 5% of STEM-inclined women pursue engineering majors in college, and the POP alumni are entering engineering programs at over 3 times that rate. On the clinical pathway, only 1% of women in medical school pursue residency in orthopedic surgery, and although our alumni have not reached this stage just yet, there is strong interest in the medical student and pre-medical populations to suggest drastically higher yields from this cohort. The success of the POP intervention has led us at the Perry Initiative to strategically expand our outreach efforts to target other critical junctures in the orthopedics talent pipeline. In 2014, we launched the Medical Student Outreach Program for first and second year women medical students. As we reported recently in CORE, 22% of all medical student program alumni are now orthopedic surgery residents. This represents an additional 200 women orthopedic surgeons. In 2016, we expanded our research directly to educators with Orthopedics in Action, which is standalone orthopedics-themed STEM lessons designed for multiple age bands, including middle school, high school, and engineering college. The curriculum is distributed nationally through a partnership with Sawbone-specific research labs and is now used in over 200 classrooms. As this organization enters its second decade of continuous operation, we will continuously evolve our programming in response to program evaluation data like we've presented to you today. The end goal is honestly to achieve gender and racial diversity in this profession and eventually become non-essential as an organization. We are clearly getting there, but this is a long-term effort. Thank you for listening, and we would like to acknowledge our corporate partners, particularly Zimmer Biomet Foundation and Sawbones, as well as our sister organizations and co-authors.